Alexander sat in his car outside Willa's apartment building for 23 minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles had gone white. It was Christmas Eve, 6:47 p.m. He was supposed to be upstairs 13 minutes ago, but he couldn't move. Because 15 minutes ago, while driving through holiday traffic with a bag of carefully chosen gifts in the passenger seat, Alexander's vision had gone completely black for 11 seconds. Not blurry, not dimmed, black. He'd nearly crashed into a delivery truck, had swerved at the last second, pulled into a gas station parking lot, and sat there with his heart hammering while his vision slowly, agonizingly returned. The tumor was getting worse. Dr. Patel had warned him this would happen. Just yesterday, at the follow-up appointment he had been dreading. Visual disturbances, temporary blindness. Next would come seizures, memory loss, motor function deterioration. "The tumor is growing faster than we anticipated," she'd said, her voice gentle but clinical. "I'm revising your prognosis. 4 to 5 months, maybe less." 4 to 5 months, not 6. The timeline was accelerating. But upstairs, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor, 2 6-year-old children were waiting to have Christmas Eve dinner with a father they'd only known for 6 days. A father who was currently sitting in a parking lot, hands shaking, vision still spotty at the edges, trying to decide if he should go up there at all. Because what happens if he went blind in front of them? What happens if he collapses again, but this time doesn't get up? What happens when children who barely know him watch him die? His phone buzzed. A text from Willa. "Are you coming? Kids keep asking." Alexander looked at himself in the rearview mirror. He looked terrible, pale, exhausted. The kind of exhausted that sleep couldn't fix, because it was coming from inside, from cells dying, from time running out. He should cancel. He should tell her the truth. He should... Another text. "Sophia made you a place card. Oliver set your spot at the table." Something broke inside of him. Not his resolve, his fear. Because those 2 sentences contained more family than he'd experienced in 45 years of life, and he would rather die in front of them than miss it. Alexander got out of the car, grabbed the bag of gifts, and walked toward the building. He didn't know it yet, but this decision, this choice to walk through that door instead of driving away, would be the beginning of the end. Not of his life, but of the lie he had been telling. And by the time this night was over, everything would be different.
If you're just joining the story, you need to go back and watch part 1 right now, because what happens next won't make sense without it. For everyone who's been waiting, welcome back. Part 2 is where everything starts to fall apart. Subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications, because part 3 drops tomorrow and you don't want to miss the ending. Now let's see what happened when Alexander walked through that door.
The days between the park meeting and Christmas Eve had been the strangest of Alexander's life. On December 20th, he'd attended Sophia's school Christmas concert. He'd sat in the back of a gymnasium that smelled like floor wax and children's perfume, watching his daughter perform a simple ballet routine with 11 other 6-year-olds. She'd spotted him in the audience halfway through and had smiled so wide she'd nearly missed her next step. Oliver had sat beside him, pointing out which kids were in his class, explaining the program with serious authority. Willa had sat on Oliver's other side, her posture stiff, her expression guarded. She hadn't spoken to Alexander except in brief, functional sentences. "They're on next. Bathrooms are down a hall. We're leaving in 10 minutes." But she'd let him come. That was something. It had been the most normal hour of Alexander's life, and the most terrifying. because the whole time his head had been pounding, his vision had flickered twice, and he'd spent the entire performance wondering if he was going to collapse in front of 200 parents and their children. He hadn't, but the fear had never left. 3 days later, yesterday, December 23rd, Alexander had sat in Dr. Patel's office, staring at images of his own brain. The tumor had grown. Even he could see it, the white mass that had bloomed larger since the last scan, spreading like ink in water, consuming healthy tissue with quiet, relentless efficiency. "The growth rate is concerning," Dr. Patel said, pulling up comparison images. "This is your scan from 3 weeks ago, when we first discovered the tumor, and this is today." The difference was obvious, horrifying. "What does this mean?" Alexander asked, though he already knew. "It means we need to revise your timeline. I originally estimated 6 months. Based on this progression, I'm now looking at 4 to 5 months, possibly less." 4 to 5 months. He'd lost a month already, maybe 2.
"The visual disturbances you've been experiencing will likely increase," Dr. Patel continued. "You may experience temporary blindness, as you described, motor control issues. Seizures are increasingly probable at this stage. When? Could be tomorrow, could be weeks from now. There's no way to predict with certainty." She handed him a prescription. "This is for anti-seizure medication. It takes several days to build up in your system, so it won't provide immediate protection, but it should reduce the frequency and severity of episodes over time." "Several days?" "At least a week for full effect. In the meantime, I'd recommend avoiding driving, avoiding situations where a fall could be dangerous, and having someone with you as much as possible." Alexander took the prescription. He had Christmas Eve dinner tomorrow. A week was time he didn't have. "I'm supposed to have dinner with my children tomorrow," he said quietly. Dr. Patel paused. "The twins you mentioned?" "Yes. Do they know you're sick?" "No." "Does their mother?" "No." Dr. Patel set down her pen. "In my experience, secrets like this don't stay hidden. The body has a way of telling the truth even when we don't want it to. If you collapse in front of them, if you have a seizure, if your speech slurs or your vision fails, they'll know something is wrong, and finding out that way is often more traumatic than being told directly. I don't want them to know me as the dying father. I understand, but you may not have a choice in how they know you, only in whether you're honest with them before the disease makes honesty irrelevant." Alexander left the appointment with the prescription in his pocket and a folder full of palliative care options he couldn't bring himself to read. 4 to 5 months. Christmas Eve was tomorrow. He could cancel, could call Willa and make some excuse, could disappear from their lives as quickly as he had appeared. But he'd already disappeared once, and he'd spent 6 years regretting it. So when Christmas Eve came, Alexander got in his car and drove to Willa's apartment, knowing that every moment with his children might be borrowed time, knowing that his body could betray him at any second, knowing that the truth was a bomb waiting to explode. He went anyway, because some things mattered more than safety, and those 2 children, strangers who shared his blood and were just beginning to know his name, mattered more than anything.
Willa's apartment was nothing like Alexander's penthouse. It was small, maybe 900 square feet. The furniture was mismatched, some pieces clearly secondhand, others from IKEA. The Christmas tree in the corner was artificial, decorated with paper snowflakes the twins had obviously made themselves, and lights that blinked in an uneven rhythm. It was the most beautiful space Alexander had ever seen. Willa opened the door wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked at him with an expression that was equal parts suspicion and resignation. "You're late." "I know. I'm sorry. The kids were worried you weren't coming. I wouldn't miss this." She studied his face, her eyes narrowing. "You look terrible." "Thank you." "That wasn't a compliment. Are you sick?" "Just tired." "Alexander, can we not do this right now?" His voice came out sharper than intended. "Please, I'm here. Let me just be here." Willa's jaw tightened, but she stepped aside. They're in the living room. Alexander walked in, and there they were. Oliver sat on the floor, building something elaborate with Legos. Sophia was sprawled on the couch, coloring in a book with fierce concentration. Both of them looked up when he entered. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Sophia said, "You came." It wasn't excitement in her voice, it was surprise, as if she hadn't actually believed he would. "Of course I came," Alexander said, setting down the bag of gifts. "I promised, didn't I?" "Lots of people promise things," Oliver said quietly, not looking down from his Legos. "It doesn't mean they do them." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Willa's expression said, "See, this is what you did to them." Alexander crouched down slowly, his knees protesting. "You're right. Promises don't mean much if you don't keep them. But I'm here, and I'm going to keep showing up, okay?"
Oliver finally looked at him. "Why should we believe you?" 6 years old, and already learning not to trust. Because of him. "You shouldn't," Alexander said honestly. "Not yet. I have to earn that, but I'm going to try." Sophia set down her crayon and walked over, studying him with those wide, serious eyes that looked so much like his own. "Mama says you were scared. Is that why you left?" Alexander glanced at Willa. She was leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching. No help was coming. This was his test. "Yes," he said quietly. "I was scared." "Of what?" "Of not being good enough, of hurting you, of being a bad father." "And now you're not scared?" "I'm terrified," Alexander admitted, "but I'm here anyway." Something shifted in Sophia's expression. Not trust, but maybe the possibility of it. "Did you bring presents?" she asked, glancing at the bag. "I did, but maybe after dinner?" "Dinner's almost ready," Willa said from the kitchen. "Sophia, go wash your hands. Oliver, clean up the Legos." The twins obeyed, leaving Alexander standing awkwardly in the middle of the living room. Willa walked over, her voice low. "Terrified but here anyway? That's supposed to make up for 6 years?" "No, nothing makes up for 6 years, but it's the truth." "Is it?" She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her shampoo, something floral and familiar. "Because you're still hiding something, Alexander. I can see it. Whatever's wrong with you, whatever you're not telling me, it's going to come out, and when it does, if my children get hurt, they won't. You can't promise that." "I can try." "Trying isn't enough. You don't get to play father for a few weeks and then disappear when it gets hard. You don't get to make them love you and then break their hearts." "I won't." "Dinner's ready," Sophia called from the kitchen. Willa held his gaze for one more second, then turned away. "Come eat." Dinner was spaghetti with marinara sauce, garlic bread, and a salad. Simple, homemade. The kind of meal Alexander hadn't eaten in years because his private chef prepared things like pan-seared halibut and truffle risotto. This was better. Sophia had indeed made him a place card, a piece of construction paper folded in half with Alex written in crayon, surrounded by stars. He would have paid $1 million for that place card. "So," Willa said, serving spaghetti onto plates, "tell us about your job, Alex." It was a test. He could feel it. "I run a company," he said carefully. "We help other businesses make better decisions using data." "What's data?" Oliver asked. "Information, numbers,
patterns that help people understand things. That sounds boring, Sophia said. Alexander almost laughed. It is very boring. Then why do you do it? Good question. Why did he do it? Once upon a time, it had been about survival, about proving he could succeed, about filling the void with achievement. Now it felt completely meaningless. I guess I'm good at it, he said. But you're right, it's boring. What do you two like to do? Sophia launched into an explanation of her ballet class. Oliver talked about a book series he was reading. They were smart kids, curious, funny in that unconscious way children are. And they were strangers to him. Halfway through the meal, Oliver said, "Do you have a family?" Alexander froze, fork halfway to his mouth. Willa's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? Alexander asked carefully. Like a wife, or other kids, or parents? No, I don't. Why not? Oliver, Willa said quietly, that's personal. But he's asking us personal things, about school and friends and stuff. Why can't I ask him? It's okay, Alexander said. He's right. He looked at Oliver. I don't have a wife because I've never been married. I don't have other kids because you two are my only children. And I don't have parents because they died when I was very young. How young? 4. That's even younger than us. Yes. Where did you go after they died? Different homes, people who took care of kids whose parents couldn't. Foster care, Oliver said, nodding. Our friend Marcus was in foster care before his grandma adopted him. He says it's scary sometimes. It was, Alexander agreed. Sometimes. Is that why you were scared to be our dad? Because you didn't have a dad to teach you how? Out of the mouths of children. Yes, Alexander said quietly. That's exactly why. Willow was staring at him now, her expression unreadable. But Marcus's grandma didn't know how to be a parent either, Sophia continued. She was old and never had kids, but Marcus says she tries really hard, and that's what matters. Sophia's right, Oliver added. Trying is important. These children, these 6-year-old philosophers, were dismantling him piece by piece. You're both very smart, Alexander managed. We know, Sophia said matter-of-factly, and even Willa smiled a little. The rest of dinner passed in safer territory, but when the plates were cleared and the twins ran back to the living room to continue their activities, Willa cornered Alexander by the sink. When were you going to tell me you were in foster care? She asked quietly. I didn't think it mattered. It matters. It explains a lot. Like what? Like why you're so terrified of connection that you abandoned your own children. The words were surgical, precise, devastating. Willa, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to understand you. She turned to face him fully. When we were together, you never talked about your past, never talked about your childhood. I knew something was wrong, but you kept me at a distance. I know. And then you left, and I thought it was because you didn't love me. But it wasn't, was it? No, it was because I didn't know how. And now? Now I'm learning. She searched his face. What changed, Alexander? What finally made you come back? He could tell her. Right now, in this tiny kitchen that smelled of garlic and marinara sauce, he could tell her about the tumor, about the diagnosis, about the fact that he had maybe 4 months left, maybe less. But before he could speak, a crash came from the living room. Sophia! Oliver's voice, high and panicked. They both ran. Sophia was on the floor, tangled in the Christmas tree lights, ornaments shattered around her. She wasn't crying, just sitting there, stunned. What happened? Willa demanded, kneeling beside her. "I wanted to fix the star on top. It was crooked, but I fell." "Are you hurt?" "No." But Alexander was. Because he'd seen the moment before the crash, had seen Sophia climbing, had seen the tree wobbling, and his body had frozen. His reflexes were too slow. His mind was too foggy. 6 months ago, he would have caught her. Now, the tumor was stealing even his ability to protect them.
After the tree disaster was cleaned up and Sophia was safely on the couch, Alexander retrieved the bag of gifts. He'd spent 3 hours in a toy store, completely overwhelmed, trying to figure out what 6-year-olds would want. He'd asked a saleswoman for help, felt pathetic doing it, and ended up buying way too much. A Lego set for Oliver, something elaborate with 1,000 pieces. A ballet outfit and accessories for Sophia because she'd mentioned dance. Books, puzzles, art supplies. It was too much. He realized it the moment he started pulling things out and saw Willa's expression tighten. "Alex," she said quietly, "this is a lot. I wanted them to have a good Christmas. They don't need all this. I know, but you're trying to buy their affection." The accusation hung in the air. "That's not what I'm... isn't it?" Willa's voice was still quiet, but there was steel underneath. "You can't just show up with expensive gifts and expect that to make up for lost time." "I'm not trying to make up for anything. I just wanted to give them something." "They don't need things, Alexander. They need consistency. They need to know you'll be here next week, and the week after that, and the month after that." "But I won't be." The thought crashed into him like a wave. In 4 months, he wouldn't be here. In 4 months, all they'd have left of him would be things, Legos and ballet outfits and books they were too young to read. "Can we open them?" Sophia asked, oblivious to the tension. "Yes," Alexander said, before Willa could object. The twins tore into the packages with the enthusiasm only children possess. Oliver's face lit up when he saw the Lego set. Sophia actually squealed over the ballet outfit. For a moment, Alexander felt like he'd done something right. Then Oliver asked, "Can you help me build this?" The Lego box said ages 10 plus. The instruction booklet was 40 pages long. "Of course," Alexander said. They cleared the coffee table and spread out the pieces. Alexander's hands were shaking slightly as he opened the first bag of tiny plastic bricks. "You start on step 1, Oliver instructed, completely in his element. "I'll organize the pieces by color." They worked in silence for a few minutes. Alexander's vision was still spotty at the edges, but he focused on the instructions, trying to follow along. Then his hand slipped. Pieces scattered everywhere. "It's okay," Oliver said quickly. "We can pick them up." But when Alexander bent down to gather the pieces, a wave of dizziness hit him so hard he had to grab the edge of the table. "Alex?" Oliver's voice, worried. "I'm fine, just moved too fast." Willa was watching from the kitchen doorway, her arms crossed. She knew. She knew something was very, very wrong. But she said nothing. Not in front of the children.
An hour later, they'd made progress on the Lego set. Sophia had changed into her ballet outfit and was performing an impromptu show in the middle of the living room. Willa had put on Christmas music, old classics that filled the apartment with warmth. For the first time in 6 years, Alexander felt like he was a part of something, a family. And it was killing him. Because every moment of joy was shadowed by the knowledge that it was temporary, that in a few months these children would be opening Christmas presents without him, that Willa would be raising them alone, that he would be a photograph on a shelf, a name they barely remembered. "Alex," Sophia's voice broke through his thoughts. "Are you watching?" "I'm watching," he said, forcing a smile. "You're very good." "Will you come to my recital? It's in January." January. He'd still be alive in January, probably, but what condition would he be in?
"I'll try," he said. The wrong answer. He saw it immediately in the way her smile dimmed. "That's what Mama says when she means no," Sophia said quietly. "That's not what I—" "It's okay. Most parents don't come anyway." She went back to dancing, but the joy had leaked out of it. Willa appeared at his elbow. "That was a test," she said quietly, "and you failed." "I said I'd try. You should have said yes unequivocally, because that's what she needed to hear." "What if I can't?" "Then you make sure you can. You cancel meetings, you rearrange your schedule, you show up. That's what parents do." "I don't know how to be a parent." "Then learn, because these kids have already been disappointed by one father. They don't need a second one." She walked away, leaving Alexander standing there, drowning in the weight of expectations he had no idea how to meet. Oliver had abandoned the Legos and was now sitting on the couch, reading one of the books Alexander had brought. Without looking up, he said, "It's okay if you can't come to Sophia's recital." "Oliver, people are busy, we get it." "I want to come, but you might not be able to because of work or something." "Work isn't more important than you two." "Then why did you leave?" The question landed like a bomb. Oliver was still looking at his book, his voice carefully neutral, but Alexander heard the pain underneath. "Because I was afraid," Alexander said quietly. "Because I didn't think I could be a good father, and I was wrong. I was wrong to leave, and I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix things." "I know. My friend Jake's dad left too, and then he came back and said sorry, and then he left again. Jake says sorry is just a word people say before they hurt you." "I'm not gonna leave again." That's what Jake's dad said. Oliver turned the page, effectively ending the conversation. And Alexander sat there, realizing that every word out of his mouth was a promise he might not be able to keep, not because he didn't want to, but because his body was betraying him. And soon, the choice wouldn't be his to make. At 8:30 p.m., someone knocked on the door. Willa's entire body went rigid. "Stay here," she said to the twins, her voice tight. She looked through the peephole, and Alexander saw her expression shift from tension to fury. "You're not supposed to be here," she said through the door. "I have a right to see my kids on Christmas Eve," a man's voice, aggressive, entitled. Alexander stood up. "Who is that?" Willa didn't answer. She opened the door a crack, her body blocking the entrance. "They're not your kids, Derek. We've been over this. I helped raise them." Alexander's blood went cold. Derek, Willa's ex-husband, the man mentioned in her file, the file Alexander had his assistant compile when he first started looking for her. Married Willa when the twins were 1 year old, divorced when they were 3. History of verbal abuse. No biological relation to the children, but had attempted to claim parental rights during the divorce. "You need to leave," Willa said firmly. "I want to see them. It's Christmas." "You lost that right when you—" Derek shoved the door open. Willa stumbled back. Alexander moved instinctively, putting himself between Derek and the children. Derek was tall, taller than Alexander, with the build of someone who worked construction. His eyes were red-shot, and Alexander could smell alcohol on him from 6 feet away. "Who the hell are you?" Derek demanded. "I'm Alex, and you need to leave. This is between me and my wife." "Ex-wife," Willa corrected, her voice shaking with rage. "And these are not your children. I helped raise them. You yelled at them, you scared them, you made them cry, and then I divorced you and got a restraining order. That expired, which doesn't mean you're welcome here." Derek shifted his eyes to the twins who were huddled together on the couch, Sophia gripping Oliver's hand. "Hey, kids," Derek said, his tone shifting to something falsely gentle. "Remember me?" Neither child responded. "I brought you presents. They're in the car. Want to see them?" "No," Oliver said quietly. "I wasn't asking you, boy." Derek's expression darkened.
"Don't talk to him like that," Alexander said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Derek finally focused on him. "And who are you, the new boyfriend?" "I'm their father." The words hung in the air.
Derek laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. Their father? The famous deadbeat dad who abandoned them? That father? "Derek, get out," Willa said. "Now, or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just visiting family on Christmas." "They're not your family." "And he is?" Derek gestured at Alexander. "How long has he been in the picture? A week? 2? That's none of your business." "It is when you're letting a stranger around my kids." "They're not your kids." Willa was shouting now, something Alexander had never heard from her. "You have no legal rights, no biological connection, nothing. You are nothing to them." Derek's face went red. "I was there. When this asshole was too much of a coward to show up, I was there." "And you were terrible at it," Willa shot back. "You resented them. You treated them like burdens. You made Oliver wet the bed because he was so scared of you." "That's a lie. Get out." For a moment, Alexander thought Derek might actually hit her. But then Sophia started crying, quiet, hiccuping sobs, and Oliver wrapped his arms around her. And something in Derek's expression shifted, not to kindness, to calculation. "Fine," he said, stepping back. "I'll leave, but this isn't over. You let some stranger into their lives? We'll see what Child Protective Services thinks about that." "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," Derek smiled, cruel and cold. "Merry Christmas." He left, slamming the door behind him. The aftermath, the silence in the apartment went silent except for Sophia's crying. Willa locked the door, threw the deadbolt, and then slid down to sit on the floor, her hands shaking. Oliver and Sophia ran to her, and Alexander stood there, useless, watching a family he barely knew hold each other together while he remained on the outside. Stop for a second. If you're feeling anxious right now, good. That's the point, because this is where everything starts to fall apart. Derek just threatened to call CPS. Alexander is hiding a terminal diagnosis. Willa is one revelation away from kicking him out forever, and the twins are caught in the middle. Drop a comment right now. Should Alexander tell Willa the truth about his illness, even if it means she might cut him off completely? Because what happens next will force that decision. Let's go.
After Derek left, Willa put the twins to bed early. Alexander heard her reading to them, her voice soft and steady, a sharp contrast to the woman who'd been screaming at her ex-husband 20 minutes ago. He sat on the couch, his head in his hands, the headache building again. This was a mistake. Coming here, inserting himself into their lives, pretending he could be a father when he was actively dying, all of it was a mistake. He should leave. He should tell Willa the truth and walk away before he caused more damage. But before he could move, Sophia appeared in the hallway. She was wearing pajamas covered in stars, holding a stuffed rabbit. "You're still here," she said quietly. "I am. I thought you might leave after Derek came. I wouldn't leave without saying goodbye." She walked over, climbing onto the couch beside him. "Derek used to yell a lot and break things. I'm sorry. Mama says he was hurt inside and that's why he was mean, but I think some people are just mean." At 6 years old, she'd already learned that lesson. Your mama's probably right. Hurt people sometimes hurt other people. Are you hurt inside? The question was so direct, so innocent, that Alexander didn't know how to answer. "Yes," he said finally, "I am." "Is that why you left?" "Yes." "Are you still hurt?" "I'm getting better." It was a lie, but what was he supposed to say? "Actually, I'm
dying. My brain is being eaten by cancer, and in a few months I'll be gone forever. But let's not worry about that right now." Sophia was quiet for a moment, swinging her legs. Then, "Are you going to get married to Mama again?" "We were never married." "But you loved her, right? That's what she said." "I did. I do." "Then why didn't you stay?"
How do you explain fear to a child who doesn't understand it yet? How do you explain the ways trauma rewires your brain, makes you run from the very things you want most? "Because I was scared," Alexander said. "And sometimes when people are scared, they do stupid things." "Like leaving your family?" "Yes, like that. My friend Emma says her dad left because he didn't love them anymore. Is that why you left? Because you didn't love us?" "No." The word came out fierce, immediate. "No, Sophia. I left because I didn't think I was good enough for you. But I loved you. I've always loved you." "You didn't even know us." "I knew enough." "Do you still love us now that you know us?" She looked at him with those serious eyes. "Yes, so much it scares me." "Love isn't supposed to be scary." "It is when you're afraid of losing it." Sophia leaned her head against his arm. She smelled like children's shampoo and innocence. "Oliver doesn't trust you yet," she said matter-of-factly, "but I think maybe I do." Something cracked in Alexander's chest. "Sophia, but if you leave again, I won't trust you, I mean, so you have to promise you'll stay." "I can't promise that." "I'm dying. In 4 months, I'll be gone, and you'll hate me for making you love me." "I promise," Alexander heard himself say. "I'll stay." Another lie. Another promise he couldn't keep. Sophia smiled and closed her eyes, apparently content to fall asleep right there against his arm. And Alexander sat frozen, feeling the weight of this tiny human who'd just given him her trust, knowing he was going to break it. Not because he wanted to, but because the universe had already decided.
Willa came out 10 minutes later and stopped when she saw Sophia asleep against Alexander's shoulder. "She's supposed to be in bed," Willa said softly. "She came out to talk to me." "About what?" "Trust, and whether I'm going to stay." "What did you tell her?" "That I would." Willa's expression hardened. "Can you keep that promise?" "I'm going to try." "That's not the same thing." "It's all I can offer right now." Willa walked over, gently lifting Sophia. The girl murmured but didn't wake. Willa carried her back to the bedroom, and Alexander heard the soft sounds of tucking in, whispered goodnights, a door closing. When Willa returned, she didn't sit down. "We need to talk." "I know." We had 2 long minutes. "Derek showing up tonight, that's going to be a problem. If he really does call CPS, they're going to ask questions about you, about how long you've been in the picture, about why you suddenly appeared." "I'll handle it." "How? By throwing money at it? Lawyers? What?" "If that's what it takes." "That's not how this works, Alexander. You can't buy your way into being a father." "I'm not trying to." "Yes, you are." Her voice was rising. "You show up with expensive gifts and vague promises and expect that to be enough. But it's not. These kids need stability, consistency. They need to know you're not going to disappear the moment things get hard." "I'm not going to disappear." "You already did once. What's to stop you from doing it again?" "I'm different now."
"Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you're still keeping secrets, still hiding things. I can see it, Alexander. Every time I ask about your health, you deflect. Every time I push for answers, you change the subject. So tell me right now, what are you hiding?" This was it. The moment where he could tell her everything. The tumor, the prognosis, the fact that he was running out of time. He opened his mouth, and the world tilted sideways. Not metaphorically, actually tilted. Alexander's vision went black at the edges. His legs went weak. He reached for the arm of the couch, but missed, stumbling forward. "Alexander!" Willa's voice, sharp with alarm. He tried to answer, but couldn't form words, and then he was falling. He hit the floor hard, his head cracking against the coffee table on the way down. Pain exploded through his skull. Somewhere far away, Willa was shouting. The bedroom door opened. Small voices, scared. "What's wrong with Alex? Mama, what's happening?" Alexander tried to get up, tried to speak, tried to do anything other than lie there, bleeding on Willa's living room on Christmas Eve. But his body wasn't responding. The tumor had finally won, and the children were watching. Alexander woke up in the emergency room. Bright lights, antiseptic smell, steady beeping from a monitor beside him. A nurse was taking his blood pressure. "Welcome back, Mr. Dawson. You gave us quite a scare." "How long?" "About 40 minutes since you arrived. You had a seizure. Do you have a history of epilepsy?" "No. I have a brain tumor." The nurse's expression shifted. "Does your doctor know you're here?" "She will soon." The curtain pulled back. Willa stood there, her face pale, her arms crossed protectively across her chest. "Can I have a minute?" she asked the nurse. "Of course, the doctor will be in shortly." The nurse left. Willa and Alexander stared at each other. "A brain tumor," Willa said finally. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "You have a brain tumor, and you didn't think that was information I needed?" "Willa, were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just going to keep collapsing in front of my children until one day you didn't wake up?" "I didn't want to..." "To what? Burden me with the truth? Ruin your little redemption arc with reality?" "I was trying to protect them." "You were being selfish." The words were cold, surgical. "You wanted to play father before you died. You wanted forgiveness. You wanted to feel good about yourself. And you didn't care that when you're gone, those kids are going to be destroyed." "That's not..." "How long?" She stepped closer. "How long have you known?" "About 3 weeks." "And how long do you have?" 4 to 5 months, maybe less." "Oh my God." Willa's hand went to her mouth. "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" She laughed, sharp and bitter. "You're sorry. You abandon your children, then show up dying and make them love you, and you're sorry? What was I supposed to do?" "Not lie," she shouted now. "You were supposed to tell me the truth. You were supposed to give me the choice of whether to let you into their lives. You were supposed to trust me." "I was trying to protect them." "No, you were trying to protect yourself from rejection, from honesty, from actually having to face the consequences of your choices." Alexander tried to sit up, but pain lanced through his head. "Where are the twins?" "With my friend Kate, scared out of their minds because they watched you collapse." "I need to talk to them." "No." Willa's voice was absolute. "You're not going near them until we figure this out." "Figure what out?" "Whether you get to stay in their lives, whether I let you break their hearts, whether this whole thing was a massive mistake." "Willa, please." The curtain pulled back again. A doctor entered, holding a chart. "Mr. Dawson, I've reviewed your scans from your neurologist." He paused, comparing notes. "I've looked at tonight's imaging alongside the scans from 3 weeks ago, when the tumor was first discovered." And the growth rate is concerning, more aggressive than we typically see with this type of glioblastoma. The seizure you had tonight is likely the first of many. He set down the chart. I'm recommending immediate admission for observation and discussion of palliative care options. I can't stay. I need to. You're collapsed from a brain tumor, Mr. Dawson. You're not going anywhere tonight. Willa was already walking away. Willa, wait. She stopped at the curtain, but didn't turn around. I need time. Time to think. Time to figure out how to tell your children that their father finally came back just so they could watch you die. Please, don't take them away from me. Now she turned. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. You did this, Alexander. You made this choice. You prioritized your guilt over their well-being, and now we all have to live with the consequences. She walked out. And Alexander lay there, in a hospital bed, on Christmas Eve, truly alone. They kept him overnight for observation. Alexander spent Christmas morning in a hospital bed, watching families walk past his door carrying balloons and flowers and gift bags. His neurologist, Dr. Patel, came by at noon. The tumor is accelerating faster than we anticipated, she said gently. The seizure last night is concerning. We need to discuss your care plan moving forward. How long? 3 to 4 months, maybe less. Less than 5 months. Less than the time he thought he had. I need to see my children. Mr. Dawson, given your current condition, I'm not sure that's... I need to see them. Dr. Patel sighed. Then you need to tell them the truth, because you're going to have more seizures, more episodes. Your condition is going to deteriorate visibly. Children notice these things. I know. Do you? Because in my experience, parents want to protect their children from harsh realities, but sometimes the protection causes more harm than the truth. After she left, Alexander lay there staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Kate, Willa's friend. The twins asked me to text you. They want to know if you're okay. Alexander's hands shook as he typed back. I'm okay. Tell them I'm sorry I scared them. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Sophia wants to know when you'll see me again. I don't know. I don't know. Oliver wants to know if you're going to die. The question sat there on the screen, stark and devastating. A 6-year-old asking the question Alexander had been avoiding. Can I call them? He typed. Willa said no, not until she decides if you get to stay in their lives. Please tell them I love them. I will. The conversation ended. Alexander set down the phone. 2 hours later, there was a knock on his door. He looked up, expecting a nurse. It was Oliver. Standing in the doorway, holding Kate's hand, his expression serious and scared. Behind him, Sophia peeked out, her eyes red from crying. Kate looked apologetic. They insisted, Willa's gonna kill me, but they wouldn't stop asking. Come here. The twins approached slowly. Oliver climbed onto the chair beside the bed. Sophia stayed back, chewing on her thumbnail. Are you going to die? Oliver asked. No preamble, no softening, just the question. Alexander looked at these 2 children, these strangers who were his whole world, and realized he was done lying. Yes, he said quietly, I am. Sophia's face crumpled. Oliver's expression didn't change, but his hands gripped the armrest of the chair. When? Oliver asked. A few months. Because of your brain? Yes. Does it hurt? Sometimes. Is that why you fell down in our house? Yes. Sophia finally spoke, her voice small. Is it our fault? What? No. Sophia, no.
Because you came back, and then you got sick, and maybe if you hadn't come back.
No, Alexander reached for her hand. This isn't your fault. I was already sick. I just didn't tell you. Why not? Oliver's voice was sharp now, accusing. Good question. Because I was scared, Alexander admitted. I was scared you wouldn't want to know me if you knew I was dying. That's stupid, Oliver said. I know. You should have told us. I know. You should have told Mama. I know. Sophia climbed onto the bed, curling against his side. I don't want you to die. I don't want to die either. Can't the doctors fix you? No, sweetheart, they can't. That's not fair, she whispered. I know. Oliver was crying now, silent tears rolling down his cheeks. We just got you back. I know. And now you're leaving again? I know. I hate you, Oliver said, but there was no venom in it, just pain, pure childish pain. I know, Alexander said again, because what else was there to say? They sat there, this broken, temporary family, in a hospital room on Christmas Day. And then Oliver asked the question that would haunt Alexander for whatever time he had left. If you knew you were dying, why did you come back? Why did you make us love you when you're just going to leave? Alexander opened his mouth, closed it, because he had no answer, no good answer. He'd come back because he was selfish, because he wanted to be loved before he died, because he couldn't face dying alone. But he couldn't say that to a 6-year-old, so he said nothing. And in the silence, Oliver climbed down from the chair and walked to the door. Come on, Sophia, he said quietly. Sophia looked up at Alexander, her eyes full of questions. But she got up. She followed her brother. And at the door, Oliver turned back one more time. I'm glad we met you, but I wish we hadn't, because now it's going to hurt when you're gone. Then they left. And Alexander lay there, in a hospital bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and whirred and kept him alive despite his body's best efforts to shut down. Alone. Again. With the weight of that question pressing down on him. Why did you make us love you when you're just going to leave? Oliver's question is the one Alexander can't answer, and it's the question you need to answer for me. Was Alexander wrong to come back? Should he have stayed away and let them remember him as a stranger instead of a father they lost? Or did he do the right thing, giving them a few months of truth, even if it ends in pain? Drop your answer right now, because this is the question Part 3 has to resolve. Part 3 drops soon. The final part. The ending. Alexander has maybe 3 months left. The twins know he's dying. Willa has to decide if she'll let him back in or protect her children from the inevitable grief. And time is running out. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Don't miss the ending. Because what happens next will either break your heart or put it back together. Maybe both.